Blanca, tú vienes más. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos al Instituto Cervantes. Voy a hablar en español porque es la casa del español y además tenemos un profesional que nos ayude con el inglés. Hoy es la segunda sesión de Mujeres de Cine y es un gusto tener a dos directoras, a una directora Violeta Barca-fontana y a Chiara Clemente, que van a conversar sobre cine. Blanca va a presentarnos un poquito esta sesión, va a presentarnos a las directoras. A continuación vamos a ver unos trailers de sus trabajos y luego vamos a poder conversar con las directoras. Así que sin más, os dejo con Blanca. Gracias por acompañarnos y disfrutar de la velada. Gracias.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Antes que nada quería agradecer en nombre de Mujeres de Cine y muy especialmente en nombre de su directora, Ana Palacios, el apoyo, la implicación y el placer que es trabajar con el equipo del Instituto Cervantes. Gracias a Richard Bueno, gracias a Delia Antelo y a todo el equipo, porque sin ellos esta parada de Mujeres de Cine no habría sido posible. Gracias también muy especialmente a las directoras que nos acompañan esta tarde, Violeta Barca-fontana y Chiara Clemente, creadoras que hemos convocado en esta ocasión para conversar y poner en diálogo sus obras y reflexionar sobre arte y sus múltiples aristas y manifestaciones. Algo que a las dos les fascina y que es una parte nuclear del trabajo de ambas. Violeta y Chiara, bienvenidas. Y gracias, por supuesto, a todos vosotros que habéis desafiado al frío hoy para venir a estar con nosotros y descubrir un poco más del cine hecho por mujeres y de sus autoras. Mujeres de Cine, como algunos ya sabéis, es una iniciativa que nace en Madrid en 2010 con dos propósitos principales: promover y visibilizar el trabajo de la mujer en el cine y luchar por una igualdad efectiva y real en el cine y, por ende, en la cultura y en la sociedad. Para ello, Mujeres de Cine organiza una itinerancia cinematográfica que es la columna vertebral del proyecto y que garantiza la exhibición efectiva del trabajo de las directoras españolas. Desde inicios de 2010, Mujeres de Cine ha cruzado fronteras, ha creado referentes de empoderamiento y ha reconocido a aquellas mujeres cineastas que abrieron camino, programando proyecciones en más de 15 países y 4 continentes y fomentando la reflexión y participación ciudadana en torno al papel de la mujer en el cine, con presentaciones, coloquios y encuentros. Cumpliendo ahora su 10ª edición, Mujeres de Cine lanza una iniciativa pionera, Mujeres de Cine VOD, la primera plataforma de vídeo on demand dedicada íntegramente al cine hecho por mujeres. Os invito a que la exploréis en mujeresdecine.com. Conscientes de la importancia de introducir el cine español en la industria cinematográfica estadounidense, en 2016 Mujeres de Cine crea Mujeres de Cine USA, Traveling Spanish Film Showcase Made by Women, contando con la colaboración del American Film Institute, el National Museum Women in the Arts y la Embajada de España en Washington. El pasado viernes 8 de noviembre, Mujeres de Cine llegó por primera vez al Instituto Cervantes de Nueva York para ofrecer una muestra de lo mejor y más reciente del cine español hecho por mujeres. Y lo hicimos con la proyección de Viaje al cuarto de una madre de Celia Rico. En los próximos días os invitamos a venir al Instituto Cervantes a disfrutar de varias actividades. Hoy celebramos Correspondence, que como sabéis es un diálogo entre la directora española Violeta Barca-fontana y la estadounidense Chiara Clemente. Entre el 14 y el 16 de noviembre celebraremos el ciclo New York by Spanish Women Filmmakers, que ofrecerá distintas miradas de cineastas españolas sobre la ciudad de Nueva York. El día 14 proyectaremos Pieces of New York, de Violeta Barca-fontana, y contaremos con la presencia tanto de la directora como de alguno de los artistas presentes en la película. El viernes 15 podremos ver el cortometraje Un paseo por New York Harbor, de Carolina Astudillo, y la multipremiada Most Beautiful Island, de Ana Asensio, con quien también tendremos el placer de conversar al final. Y cerraremos el ciclo el sábado 16 de noviembre con la ópera prima de Chus Gutiérrez, Sablet, rodada en el 91 en un Nueva York muy distinto al que conocemos hoy. Con Correspondence iniciamos pues esta conversación entre dos filmografías y dos creadoras, en esta ocasión Violeta Barca-fontana y Chiara Clemente. Antes de invitarlas al estrado, para enmarcar este diálogo, vamos a proyectar el tráiler de la película Pieces of New York, de Violeta Barca-fontana, y a continuación el tráiler de la película Our City Dreams, de Chiara Clemente.
Entre las dos torres más altas de Nueva York.
As an artist, sometimes you finish a great project, and then you finish, and it's really hard to sell it.
¿Quién soy? ¿A qué estoy jugando? Reclamando que esto no sucedería. Diviértete, ¿vale? El ego que tanto los toque a todos. Joder, qué mierda.
Mi abuelo murió mucho antes de que yo decidiera dedicarme al cine. Y ese mismo día, mi abuela me dio su cámara.
So what is supposed to be that? That's Buddha, and instead of making an image of Buddha, I made the meditation of Buddha.
The pressure you're talking about, you're gonna feel forever, but if you don't do what you want, your concept never gonna emerge.
Make any money? No, I didn't make any fucking money. What about you? Did you make any money today?
Yes.
Lucky bastard.
Cuidado.
Si mi abuelo estuviera vivo, me mataría al ver esto.
I guess it was an extension of the abstract expressionist, except without the deep soul. It became about nothing. And now they talk about politics, it's about nothing. And we're all animals, Roma. You almost killed a bird yesterday. That was horrible. Do we remember it? No.
Trump doesn't need, he's just like, you don't need any introspection. It's just like this other hate. Yeah, just hate,
Si mi abuelo hubiera vivido en la era de Internet, ahora mismo sería youtuber, bloguero, instagramer, tuitero e influencer.
Esa negra con esa pelambrera era el signo del progresismo, o sea, negro contra blanco.
If you don't get money from somebody else, you're gonna do nothing? No, you have to do it. That's our mission as an artist. That's the only thing we want to do.
I needed to live in New York because New York was kind of like the biggest, loudest, dirtiest, most intense city. That's just where I needed to be.
When my mother doesn't like my work and she tells me it's because you do bad woman. Either she's a whore or she's a good woman. I don't give a judgment. I like all my women in my canvases. They're my friends. And I think you can see that.
I used to always joke when I was younger that most of representation of women was women lounging about naked. While I would love to be doing that, it wasn't my reality.
Come to America is very difficult. For me, it was like starting from zero. And in my age, to start again from zero is not easy. But I said, okay, let's try.
I never imagined having children. I didn't know how to cook when I was married. You were the last one that left the house, and then my career took off.
I don't know why, I just love this kind of fantastical idea about what we could build for ourselves.
I was one of the founding 20 members of an all-women's gallery. I mean, that was very exciting, but I knew that being a woman artist in a women's group was, to say the least, that was kind of marginal.
And it's like, mother died, I had my retrospective, my bird disappeared now.
Like, the mom, I just bought 6 of my prints, and now, did I tell you that?
It was an obsession with me. I did art because I didn't want to die. It was more of survival.
The fight never stops. And I feel that I'm fighting with this woman warrior of sorts in my own particular way.
Well, let me invite on stage Violeta Barca-fontana and Chiara Clemente. Bueno, para empezar, voy a leer una breve biografía de cada una de vosotras. I'm going to make a little introduction of both of you. Violeta Barca-fontana trabaja en la industria cinematográfica desde el año 97. Estudió dirección y producción cinematográfica en Barcelona, Madrid y Nueva York. Y ha trabajado en producciones españolas con autores como Carlos Saura, José Luis García Sánchez o Andrés Vicente Gómez. También ha trabajado en producciones británicas y alemanas junto a Paul McGann o Paul Copley. En 2003 produjo el largometraje La Fiesta, distribuido por Walt Disney Company. Como realizadora ha dirigido documentales y varios cortometrajes como Loft, Where's Woody, Entre Raíles, Marquinhos, Color Thief, Roberto Jans, Don Quijote, In a Fragmented World y Leica, Los Ojos de Capa, seleccionados y premiados en varios festivales. Y como guionista cuenta con 4 guiones de largometrajes: Atrévete, Entre Raíles, Myths y La Flor de Ulises y Pieces of New York, que se proyecta mañana aquí mismo. Chiara Clemente creció entre Italia, India y Nueva York. Su amor por el retrato se remonta a su infancia observando a su padre, viéndolo pintar retrato tras retrato. Su otra pasión, el cuento, le viene de su abuelo paterno, cuyas narraciones para dormir le inspiraron sus propias obras. A la edad de 12 años pidió una cámara de vídeo y empezó a filmar, y se dio cuenta de que esa era la manera en la que quería contar historias. La carrera de Chiara se ha centrado en el ámbito documental, los cortometrajes y las series y retratos principalmente, además de trabajar en publicidad. Es reconocida por captar momentos íntimos y reveladores de artistas, actores, chefs y diseñadores de reputación internacional. Hasta ahora ha entrevistado a casi 200 personas y su pasión por la conversación se ha convertido en parte integrante de su estilo. Su aclamado documental Our City Dreams, estrenado en el prestigioso Field Forum de Nueva York, se proyectó en más de 30 ciudades en todo el mundo y se emitió en el canal Sundance Channel. Poco después creó la serie de películas ganadoras del premio Webby Beginnings, así como 4 temporadas de Made Here, con artistas como Billy T. Jones, Philip Seymour Hoffman y Cherry Jones. Recientemente, Chiara ha dirigido Every Mother Counts and Screen Stories para la Fundación de Chrissy Tarleton y Letters to Andy Warhol, una película inspirada en el creador y que ha formado parte de una exposición itinerante. Su colaboración más reciente ha sido con Archie en la serie Broken Glass, Las mujeres en las artes y tecnología y la importancia de la autoría. Bueno, that was a lot. I mean, your lives are interesting. And it's very interesting, too, how your work is so connected, coming from very different backgrounds. And I guess that's how I want to start this conversation. Can you talk a little bit and tell us a little bit more about what made both of you so interested in the creative process of other people?
Tiene micro en tu espalda.
Genial. Perfect.
¿Empiezo yo? Hola. Sí, ¿no? Bueno, tendría que empezar explicando que, por ejemplo, Pieces of New York forma parte de una trilogía. Esta trilogía empieza con un cortometraje de ficción llamado Color Thief, y un poco surgió, que también un poco habla del proceso creativo, un poco surgió cuando yo me empecé a hacer pues las típicas preguntas de ¿por qué demonios hago esto? ¿Por qué sufro tanto? Y por qué continúo machacándome, pues tratando de hacer cine y sobreviviendo como puedo. Y entonces, pues surgió este cortometraje un poco para encontrar respuestas a estas preguntas. Entonces lo que hice fue, es un cortometraje de ficción, pero todo lo que sale en la película son frases y conversaciones que yo tuve con otros artistas a los que entrevisté, un poco para encontrar respuestas a... Yes? Okay.
I speak Italian, so it's amazing. I actually do understand most of what you're saying.
Perfect.
That's a miracle.
Because I told you I have jet lag and my English today is not the best. Entonces, conversando con estos artistas intenté encontrar estas respuestas y plasmarlas en este pequeño cortometraje. He de decir que esas respuestas sí, no las encontré, porque ninguno de los artistas, y muchos de ellos son grandes artistas y reconocidos, tampoco supieron contestármelas, ¿no? Entonces, mientras estaba en este proceso con Color Thief, me topé con un ser maravilloso, que es al que yo llamo Don Quijote, que también sale en Pieces of New York. O sea, si venís mañana lo podréis ver ahí, que es un grafitero de 80 años, lleva toda la vida haciendo arte y nada, conversando con él dije, pues tengo que conocer a este hombre. Y yo no pretendía hacer ningún cortometraje ni nada, simplemente estuve 2 años siguiéndole y cada vez que se iba a la calle a hacer su obra, pues me llamaba y entonces yo iba y le grababa. Entonces, un poco surgió de esta, contestando a tu pregunta, de esta inquietud por un poco conocerme a mí misma y un poco entenderme, ¿no? de esa manera. Y surgieron estas 3 películas. Creo que he contestado, ¿no?
I understood most of that, I think. I speak Italian and I can't speak Spanish, but I understood a lot. So I think what was interesting of what you said is the idea that the New York pieces, you were looking for answers to your own personal journey and struggles in a way. And Our City Dreams for me was very similar. I grew up in New York since I was 5. We would go back to Italy every summer, so it was very much divided by the 2 cultures. In Italy, I was a New Yorker or an American. Here, I was an Italian. I never quite fit in. But I decided after going to film school on the West Coast that I was Italian and I was going to go back to Italy and I was going to live there forever and be happy, happy. And as my father warned me, it's not the fairy tale you think. And indeed, it was wonderful, but not quite as perfect as I hoped. 4 years after being in Rome, it was an amazing experience, but I decided to finally come back to New York. But I had left New York at 18, left my parents' home. It was definitely coming back as an adult. And I, too, felt, how do I rediscover the city in my own way? What's the way, how can I do it where it's not so scary? And that's how Our City Dreams came to be. It speaks about 5 women artists, 5 generations of women, and their journeys as women and as artists in New York. And it was my way, I thought, if I look through a camera, which was my natural kind of way of looking at things, it made me feel more comfortable. I could rediscover the city through these women and find what this home would be to me in this next stage of my life. And so that's how Our City Dreams came. And it took me 5 years to make the film, from, coming up with the idea. I don't know how much was it. Yeah, it was a lot.
4 years.
4 years, from the idea, and then, finding the different generations. Some people said yes, some, there was one person who I'm so happy said no, interesting enough. Louise Bourgeois, I had asked because she was the obvious kind of older generation, and she sent me this wonderful note that I have in my archives that said, I would love to do this, but if I do one more thing, I will not have a second to do my own work, and I have not much time left. So is this amazing? Thank you, but no thank you. But that's how I discovered Nancy Spiro, who was so fantastic because she was not discovered, and she was really, at the Venice Biennale at 80 for the first time, and had struggled so much, and had fought for, and had arthritis, but was still working, and passed away 2 years after the film. So I was so lucky to capture that. And that's how I think in documentary, how you kind of get taken on these paths and then people come across. And I think one thing I'll say about just kind of why doing, because you asked kind of why people and portraits and the effect they have on you. I think, you're discovering things about yourself. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like any piece I do, and I call my films really portraits because I try to really tell people's story through their voices and eyes, and I just interpret it. But I feel like from whoever the person is, I feel like they leave something with you, even if it's not as personal as trying to do someone, portraying someone that ties to your story. But every person, you get let into their life, and you get let into their story. And and that's what I feel so lucky after all this time of doing these films, small and big. They've all left a little piece of themselves in me, and it's made it part of my story. And I think that's what's so beautiful about documentaries and portraits.
I have to say that watching your film, I was thinking about, I have to go back to New York again.
That's a good sign.
so when you were talking about, meeting yourself, in the city and meeting the city, it was like, yeah, I think you accomplished that.
Thank you. No, I mean, I think that was the most exciting thing, to show the film around. Now it's been a while, but people come to me and say, I feel so inspired. I want to go make work. I want to go create. I want to, even if they were an artist, I want to go and do something. And these women's stories really did pass that on. And that's how the series Beginnings that you mentioned came to be, which was about all sorts of artists, not just visual artists, telling how they got started and their influences. Like you said, I think one thing we have in common is the grandparent that you got your camera from.
Definitely.
And also my grandfather didn't give me the camera, but he gave me this ability to storytell. And so that was another way of inspiring others. And it was this kind of common thread that I feel anyone can connect to. Beginnings. We all have them. No matter what we do, we have those memories. We have those pillars, and they're important.
So what do you think was left from those people in your life? Or what did you discover about yourself, even if it was not finding all the answers you were looking for? But what was different after you were done, both of you, with your films? What transformation had happened? How the film affected who you were?
Bueno, en mi caso fue un proceso muy largo de 4 años de recuperar todas estas imágenes que yo en principio quería hacer una carta de amor a Nueva York y un poco rendirle pues homenaje a todos esos artistas con los que yo conviví, que al fin y al cabo pues eran mi familia aquí. Luego ya pues evolucionó cuando encontré películas de mi abuelo en los años 70 y vi que su cine había planos idénticos a los que yo había grabado, y yo sin saberlo, pues claro, tuve que meter estas imágenes. Entonces, bueno, ahí ya empezó un proceso mucho más personal, pero yo en principio pretendía, quizás más como es su película, que es plasmar a estos artistas y rendirles homenaje, ¿no? Pero luego, claro, cuando ya metí las películas de mi abuelo, se convirtió en algo personal, cosa que me costó muchísimo. Tuve un proceso, sobre todo es una película muy de edición, de montaje, el trabajo básico está en la edición, y estuve encerrada, pero además como una loca, porque me encerré como 3 o 4 meses, que lo mismo no salía, no sabía si era de noche, de día, no comía y editaba, y todo me parecía horrible, al día siguiente bien. Bueno, fue un proceso muy, muy duro y sobre todo porque no quería meterme en la piel y sacar esa cosa personal, pues porque a veces cuesta, ¿no? Entonces, un poco lo que me ha dado esta película es aprender sobre todo de estos artistas que no estaba sola, ¿no? Que sentían todo lo que se dice en la película, todo lo que dicen ellos, me estaba pasando a mí también, con lo cual ya no es una cosa personal tuya, sino simplemente es el camino que has elegido o que te ha elegido a ti, porque más que nada es... O sea, me gustaría quizás a veces ser de otra manera y tener un trabajo tranquilo y vivir bien, pero pues me ha salido esto y cada vez que intento salirme de eso, pues acaba siendo un desastre, ¿no? Entonces vuelvo otra vez a la locura. Entonces, un poco yo creo que aprendí eso, ¿no? A darme cuenta que no estaba sola y que eso forma parte bueno, pues de haber elegido estar en este proceso creativo.
The last phrase about the creative process?
That she learned to accept that this was the process she had chosen.
And just to understand, you edited the film all yourself, or did you have someone come in and work with you?
No, I edited myself.
Yeah.
I always edit my films, and this one, it was like all by myself, alone at home. I mean, sometimes, I didn't eat or whatever, and it was like a crazy thing, but it was very, very, ¿cómo se dice?
Therapeutic.
Therapeutic.
Rewarding.
Yeah.
No, I was curious about that because it is, the editing process, I think, is something that is, when you're in it, doing it, and you have a vision in your head, and then you're trying to piece it together, and it's and then you're attached to things and you don't want to let them go, but maybe you need to let them go. And it's such a kind of cycle. And for me, I started editing and then I ended up bringing editors in because it was too much. I ended up having cycles of editing. Like we'd edit pieces, then we go and film, then we'd edit pieces. But so hats off to you that you did it yourself, because I think I got to a place where I was like, I can't. I was so deep in it that it was like I had to have someone else kind of put in their point of view. But the question of how it changed me, I think I definitely, not just, by hearing all these women's stories, by seeing their journeys, and I think you said that you became part of their lives, or they became part of your life. It was like family in a way, right? And that's what I felt too. I always said this thing that with these artists, I was a doctor on call in a way. Sometimes I would check in, sometimes they would check in, and I would follow them. I was in with Marina Abramovic in Rome in her archives, and all of a sudden my DP, I was shooting that one, and my DP calls and says, I just saw an article, Kiki is at the Olympics in Torino. So I'm like calling Kiki, and I'm like, or the studio, and they're like, yeah, she's in Torino doing this ice sculpture. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. Getting on the train, going to capture that. And it was very much 2 years of that. It was, certain things we knew were going to happen. Other things were totally a surprise, and that is so amazing. Because for me, the visuals of Kiki and her ice sculpture in the film are so magical and such a beautiful ending. And just, but I think, seeing their journeys, they all struggled. And that's one thing. I think no matter what the success of an artist, of a creative, everyone's gone through the struggles. Everyone questions what they do. There's no one there patting you on the back every day. Sometimes I'm like, can I find something to do where just someone else pats me on the back? Because you have to pat yourself on the back and you have to keep going. And it's hard and it's amazing and it's hard. It's amazing. And no matter what the success of the artist, and I saw it even moving on when I started doing beginnings and I did like really huge, really big, celebrated, successful people, they all have the same questions and they've all gone through it. And I think as an artist, as a creative person, to know that, it's so helpful, because otherwise you just give up, because the truth is that's easier to give up, but we don't. We keep going. So.
And why do you think that is? How do you think you survive doing something that is so hard and so, it's not rewarding all the time. It's long processes, you were saying. It's 4 years, and you don't know what's going to happen with the work you're doing. It might be very good. It might not be. So how do you survive that process? How do you live while you are creating?
Bueno, realmente no lo sé. O sea, porque yo cada vez que acabo algo digo que va a ser la última. Lo acabo de decir del último corto, ¿verdad? En la comida digo, this is the last one. So, pero bueno, luego, claro, eso dije con mi último corto, que ha sido muy duro y todavía está en proceso de acabarse, pero viendo la película el otro día, Your Film, I said, okay, y se lo comentaba a una amiga, digo, creo que tengo esta idea de coger las películas de mi abuelo y digo, ya está, this is not the last one. ¿Sabes? Entonces ya estoy como pensando en el siguiente y es como... me pasó, por ejemplo, cuando acabé Color Thief, que es la primera parte, también fue un cortometraje muy duro, muy complicado generalmente porque no hay dinero, entonces cuando no hay dinero pues todo va un poco peor. Entonces dije que esa sería la última vez que haría cine, pero me encontré con Don Quijote y entonces empecé a grabarle, pero sin ninguna intención de hacer nada, simplemente porque necesitaba conocer a ese hombre. Y cuando acabé Color Thief, empecé a mirar el material después de 2 años de haberle grabado y dije, ostras, creo que aquí tengo... Y entonces ya empecé otra vez el proceso. Entonces, no lo sé, o sea, es algo que te llama. Es algo que te llama y no puedes evitarlo, en mi caso.
Well, I think there's that saying where, making a film, when you finally finish and put it out in the world, it's like giving birth. You kind of give birth, you let it go, and then you get the reactions. Now I've had 2 kids, I have 2 little ones, and I realized it's true because you go through all that struggle. It's amazing, it's hard, it's difficult, you fight it, you do it, you don't. There's so many difficulties there, and it's not all smooth sailing. I mean, a few might be somewhat, but most not. But then, just like birth, where you go through the pain, you go through all the work, but then when that baby comes, the second it arrives, you're like, I can do this again. This was amazing. This is wonderful. I feel great. What? There was nothing there. And I think making a film is the same way. I realize there's a parallel there because it is once, you have it out there and you start getting the reactions and you start even just seeing the story separately from yourself, which takes time. I think that's something hard, like to see your own work and not criticize every cut that you didn't like maybe, or you wish you did differently, or the shot, or when you finally start pulling back and looking at it in different eyes and be like, okay, there's a story there, we captured something. And then I think for me, and I don't know, like even hearing you like saying, the film, the way it made you want to come back to New York, or when I would travel with Our City Dreams to a lot of festivals and places, and people coming up to me, that the fact that your film, this voice that you put out there and this message can affect other people and affect their lives, I mean, that's for me, it's so rewarding. And that's what keeps you going. And I think as capturing artists, you see all these artists struggle and they do it, but it's the calling, you said. It's something, it's your visual language. It's the way, believe me, I keep thinking about what else could I do? What else could I do that would be easier? I mean, I'd love to find something. If anyone has any ideas, please tell me because I'm ready. But no, we keep doing it, and it's... I think it's also, I'd love to bring up kind of the time we're living in, because I think since I made Our City Dreams to today, which now it's a while that it's been. When did you finish your film? More recently, right? When?
I finished the editing in 2018.
17, okay.
2017.
Yeah, so it's quite more recent. So I'd be curious to hear from you, because I feel like with this whole new kind of landscape, since I made Our City Dreams, there's a zillion people making documentaries, making portraits. I mean, there's so much. When Our City Dreams came out, there's very few out there in that way. And now there's so many. It's so overly saturated. Everyone's making them. I always joke that everyone, their mother, their grandmother, their great-grandmother, they're all making documentaries and finding those stories. And they're great. I mean, it's amazing that it's happening. I'm not criticizing, but it's very overly saturated. And then even more so with like Instagram and social media, it's like everyone's kind of doing that in their own, capturing things, and it's become much less about the craft and the process and the time, but more about like how fast you can get an audience. So I think that's really changing the landscape. And you know, I think, you know, beautiful, intimate storytelling still matters, but it's just something that I question too. Like, how do you, like, do you fall into it? Do you push back? You can't totally ignore it, but you kind of try to. And I think in any creative field, I mean, it's just really changing the landscape, and even people's attention span and, you know, people's curiosity. People don't search anymore. It's like you know, people say, oh, if you're not on Instagram, you don't exist. I try to stay off it for so long, and then I finally had to get on it because there was things that I just totally missed. And they're like, oh, sorry. Well, you know, I didn't see you on Instagram, so I forgot. And I was like, really? Like, we've known... I don't know, but that's a whole other question that I think has changed the landscape a lot. But that's why I was curious about your time frame, because mine came out in 2009, which now is a long time ago. I mean, I've done a lot of other work, but it's more short format. But even that's changed. Like, it just keeps changing more and more. But I would curious to hear if you feel like that's affected, you know, from, because you started though a lot before I saw making documentaries. No.
Yeah.
Before, so
yeah. I'm not sure about that, because actually I do what I feel what I have to do. So I never care about what is happening. Actually, I don't have idea what is happening over there.
Amazing.
Out there. So usually my friends usually tell me what is happening. But like Instagram, I had it a few months ago because she told me that as a director, I should have one. So she started doing things, and then I started learning.
But just not to interrupt you, but it's like this thing of like all of a sudden you're supposed to put these images up and it's your vision, but it's like as a filmmaker, I don't know how you feel as you're doing it, it's like every frame, every footage, it's like it's so thought out. You have to edit, and all of a sudden you're supposed to like put things up, and that's what I struggle with most, because it's like it's hard for me to just put an instant, like I overthink it, and it's like it's my creation. I don't know. That's something it's very torn. Sorry, but keep going.
So no, sobre la pregunta quería también, o sea, ahora estaba pensando, ¿no? De por qué continuamos. Trato de acordarme de, o sea, muchas veces encuentro colaboradores o gente del equipo con el que tengo un buen feeling, y ese trabajo, por ejemplo, en el caso de Pieces of New York, fue con el compositor de la banda, de la música, del tema musical, y fue tan increíble ese trabajo que ya, o sea, fueron unos días maravillosos de trabajar con él mano a mano sobre la música de la película. Es el saxofonista que sale en la película, y entonces cada vez que tengo un mal momento es como, ya, pero, o sea, cuando salí, por ejemplo, de que me enseñó lo que había hecho y todo eso, es como, ya solo por eso merece la pena, ¿no? Entonces, quizás por eso otra vez te engancha otra vez por poder trabajar con... Me ha pasado ahora con mi último cortometraje, pues con el director de fotografía, ¿no? Que ha habido tan buen feeling que vamos, que volvería a trabajar con él, entonces te vuelve a enganchar, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, era un poco...
No, and I mean, the idea of kind of a director being, I would say, an orchestra conductor, because we do have the ability, and it's amazing, this thing of working with so many different types of people, from music composers to the director of photography, DP, to whoever it may be. But that's a wonderful part of filmmaking, and it's very much, it like encompasses all the arts in a way. So you can kind of tap into each, and that is something very special. Just to follow up on your thought.
You're saying so many interesting things. I don't know which one to touch on, because I'm very interested to know how audiences are changing, and how does that affect your work. You say, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing whatever I'm doing and whatever I want to do, and I don't care.
Probably I shouldn't think. I mean, it's not that I want to think like that, but...
But you're being honest. Thank you.
I'm trying to think about that, because probably it would be better for me, for my career. But
being strategic and being an artist,
I mean, for me,
it doesn't always go hand in hand, right?
And then trends are so fast that if you try to do it, I mean, that's the thing. You can't do the thing of the moment, because it'll just pass by the time you're done.
But then there's that reality where, I mean, now everybody's a photographer, everybody's a video maker, everybody think that what they are putting out in the world is good and valuable and people should look at it and should appreciate it. And I wonder how, you were talking about the craft, what happens with the craft and how does that affect what you actually do for a living?
No, I mean, I think I don't want to talk too much because I feel like it goes into a negative thing, and I think we're so positive, and it should be about creating and making beautiful films. But I do. I mean, I think we live in a time where how are we saying something is good? Is it if you've had a lot of experience making something and you do something deep and you do something that changes the world? No, it's about how many people are looking at your stuff, and sadly, the people that have gotten most stuff, not everyone, there's some interesting people out there, but it's usually some little angle and it's not like the smartest angle. It's usually something that just catches people, cats, funny cats.
Easy to watch.
And it's easy to watch and no one has to question themselves. And that's where it's a little hard because that's the value that is put on it. And it's there's so many, I'm an example of, there's people making things out there that have had no experience making things, but they found that angle and now they've been given this huge voice and paid lots of money to do it. We try not to be bitter about that because you've got to just keep going, as you say, because it's like then you stop and then, what do you do? Dig a hole and not come out? No, but it is, you question, you're like, there's got to be, but there's still people out there. There's still people, there is an audience and people do want to see things. I mean, I think it's been really interesting to see the whole thing about films that go direct to streaming versus festival and the whole question of Cannes and which directors, like Scorsese just did a film that's in festival, but it's going to Netflix, surely, and like, what does that mean? So it's, even the masters are, bending over and saying, yes, this is how it's going. And truthfully, I'm kind of grateful of that because I don't go to the movies anymore with kids. So thank God they're going to. So there's some benefit there. But I don't know. I think, it's interesting because I did a lot of people do short, and then you do your feature. I did my feature, came back, did this huge feature, and then I've been doing short content, 3 to 10 minute since then, like one after the other, like tons and tons of stuff. And it was interesting because it was, and I put stuff online right away. And so I did like that. I like the fact that, you didn't have to put it somewhere really hard for people to go see, that you could have a bigger audience. And I thought that was beneficial. Like you could just tell someone, oh, go on the site or go look at this. So that was good because it opened up, the possibility of viewership. But I'm waiting for the next wave of kind of rejection of this wave because I don't know. But you can't ignore it, but you can't let it affect your work, otherwise you won't do it. But it does make you, it's interesting, like, it does make you think, like, I keep thinking, like, should I create some content for my Instagram? Because that would be great, and I could shoot it and it'd be easy, and you could do something interesting. It doesn't have to be dumb, it could be actually interesting, But then it's, I don't know, as a filmer, it's like I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so it's hard to just go and shoot something. But then I feel like then people would see it. So it's just, it's kind of like the snake that bites its tail because you're like questioning it and, but you keep going. I don't know.
And what about the process? Is it very different to, apart from the time that it takes, but is it very different to work on a short film or to work on a feature documentary? Is it, you both have series, you have a series, you have a trilogy. What is it in your process that makes you think that way, and the length of the pieces, the themes?
Yeah, en mi caso, yo siempre, un poco lo que decía, no creo en eso de primero hago los cortos para llegar al largo. Para mí las historias son las que te llevan, tanto en ficción como en documental. Hay historias que se pueden contar mejor en una ficción, hay historias que se pueden contar mejor en un documental, hay historias que se cuentan mejor en corto y hay historias que necesitan ser más largas, ¿no? A mí me pasó con Pieces of New York, pretendía ser un cortometraje y acabó siendo un largometraje. Dejé que esa historia creciera hasta donde tuviera que crecer, ¿no? Y entonces yo cuando me planteo, quizás sí, en un principio me planteo, pues voy a hacer un corto, pero al final si sale un largo hay que dejar, bueno, es mi opinión, hay que dejar pues que acabe siendo un largo, ¿no? Bueno, esa es mi manera, igual que, por ejemplo, pues hacer series en vez de hacer una pieza entera, o quizás, ¿no? Pues porque quizás esa historia pide que se haga así. Ocurre mucho también, o sea, lo utilizo también en el guión. Dejo un poco fluir, igual que dejé fluir en el montaje de Pieces of New York. Yo no tenía muy claro dónde iba a ir y al final acabó siendo lo que quiso. Aunque yo no quería, pero pues que exactamente además acabó siendo lo que yo no quería que fuera, ¿no? Que era una historia muy personal y no me apetecía exponerme tanto, pero al final, bueno, pues lo dejé ir, ¿no? Entonces, yo es como mi proceso es ese, es dejarme ir. Por eso me cuesta tanto visualizar un poco lo que hablabais, ¿no? Del público y a dónde va. Y quizás por eso es más difícil, pues quizás vender una pieza, ¿no? Porque si no tienes claro a qué público va, es diferente si pues, alguna vez pues, me han contratado para hacer comerciales o piezas. Eso ya es otra cosa, es conocer al cliente y ver qué quiere y ya vas a por ello, ¿no? Pero en este tipo de piezas me es muy complicado decir, vale, pues voy a hacer una comedia, generalmente me va a salir un drama, ¿sabes? O sea, me pasó con un cortometraje que pretendía ser comedia y acabó siendo un drama y viceversa, ¿no? O sea, hay que dejarse llevar.
I think, yeah, it's interesting because you think of feature length, obviously it's 5 years. That was a very long, big process. But shorts take a lot. And that's why I'm kind of going through a phase where I'm kind of phasing out of the shorts to go back to. I understand that you start a project, you don't know which way it's going to go. But for me, I kind of have to set it up a little bit before just to. A short could, like, there's some shorts that I feel like I could, elaborate on. But then it's hard because I feel like a short, you almost sometimes have to put more work into a short or even shots. You have to put more shots into short than a feature sometimes, just in that time frame. Just because it's you're telling a story in a short amount of time and it's dense and you have to keep it going. And even if it's a slower cutting, you can't quite depend on a scene because you can't let a scene play out. So I'm definitely in a phase where I feel like, oh my God, I'm kind of like almost burnt out on the short form because it's like each one is like that thing of saying like you create something and then you give birth to it, and then you create something, and then you give birth to it. And it's like it such different directions. And I feel like with a feature, even if it's not, I don't think at this point in my life I could necessarily spend 5 years on a film like I did. It's just a different moment in my life. It would have to be a bit of a more kind of faster turnaround. I don't know if you feel that way. Definitely was a different time.
I feel the same.
Different time. But at least with the feature, you can, you're creating scenes, you're creating situations, you can let things kind of come and go. You can go and film another thing, and it's just a little bit of a slower process, and it takes time, and you do have to give it. I mean, it's not going to take a month to do a feature, so it's still a process. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that a short is easier than a feature unless you really go shoot one day, cut some stuff with it, put some music, that's it. But it's, I just did a series of films. I've been working with the Museum of Art and Design, which has been really interesting because I do all sorts from my own films. I think you said I do some, I've done branded content. It's kind of the amazing in between because if you get a brand that gets it, they just put their name on it, and then you get to do what you want to do and make something beautiful. Like I did a piece on Ada and Alex Katz that is one of my favorites, and it was for Baccarat Crystal's anniversary, but I never had them touch a glass. I just had a little intro and and told their love story, and it was such a beautiful piece to get to make. But the fact that when you're doing these short with the museum, it's like these collaborations, and we did a piece, on the museum, but it was like super abstract, and then a piece on these artists they were honoring, and then you're in their life, then it's like, oh yeah, it's only going to take it took like 6 months then to make 3 short films, and that was my life. So yeah, short is not, I don't find it's easier. It's just a different way of dealing. You're like kind of go deep in it, and it's a faster turnaround. So
Sí, y sobre todo que, claro, la gente, por eso estoy en contra de esa idea, ¿no? Que el corto es como para principiantes que intentan llegar al largometraje. A mí me pone bastante mal humor eso, porque me encanta el formato de cortometraje, me encanta el formato de mediometraje, que realmente no sirve para nada, en el sentido de que si lo quieres mandar a festivales, pero a mí me gusta también mucho ese formato. De hecho, el cortometraje es bastante complicado porque tienes que contar una historia en muy poco tiempo y que se cuente bien. Generalmente los errores de un cortometraje suelen ser que quieres contar muchas cosas en poco tiempo, ¿no? Ese tipo de cosas. Entonces estoy con ella, que no es más fácil, simplemente es otra manera de contar, ¿no?
Y volviendo, going back to your documentary films, both are set in New York, and in both, New York is more than just the background or the landscape where things happen. And your relationship with the city is quite different. You were born in New York? You were not?
I was born in Italy.
You
but
were
we
born
came here
in
when
Italy?
I was 5 years old. So I mean,
So you
yeah,
spent
I
your
have roots
childhood
here.
here. You came to study when you were an adult. But you clearly both are inspired by the city. Can you talk a little bit about what does make New York, I mean, it's a super hard city to live in. And I mean, I guess you all agree with me. What does it have that attracts so many creative people who are like willing to suffer through it just to be here and create here?
Bueno, para mí Nueva York es que estoy convencidísima, y además creo en eso, que está viva, es un personaje vivo, que además tengo una broma con amigos míos españoles que viven aquí, que vas por la calle y no puedes criticar Nueva York, en plan, me ha pasado esto, es que esta ciudad... No, porque se cabrea, y entonces sí que se va a enfadar, y además es que lo creo fielmente. De hecho, el primer año que pasé aquí, los primeros meses fueron maravillosos. Nueva York se enamoró de mí, yo de ella, y fue todo fantástico. Pero como todavía tenía la visa de turista, me tuve que ir a los 3 meses. Y bueno, al regresar, pues todo cambió. O sea, Nueva York se había enfadado muchísimo conmigo porque la había abandonado. Y esto es real. Y todo fue peor, o sea, todo fue terriblemente mal. O sea, todo lo que era maravilloso no lo fue. Hasta que un día me fui a Dumbo a ver toda la estampa de Nueva York, y empecé a hablar y dije, vale, Dios, si no me quieres aquí, me voy. Me voy, porque yo aquí no he venido a sufrir. O sea, yo te quiero, pero además así como cualquier loco de esta ciudad, que es que o sea, nadie me miraba, porque evidentemente eso... Bueno, ya vivís aquí, lo sabéis, ¿no? Entonces empecé a hablar y dije, si no me quieres, me voy, no pasa nada, aquí se ha acabado. Pero si me quieres, yo no he venido aquí a sufrir, así que tú decides. Y a partir de ahí fueron 4 años de maravilla. Entonces, me acuerdo, esto lo digo, pero de verdad que lo creo fielmente. Vino una amiga española a vivir aquí, todo le iba mal, es que esta ciudad, es que mis amigos de Nueva York, es que no sé qué, de España, es que no sé qué, es que Madrid, es que tal. Y yo, si sí que es así, o sea, se va a cabrear. Entonces, bueno, eso es lo que tiene Nueva York. Nueva York tiene una energía. Y además yo he convivido siempre aquí en esta ciudad con artistas, con lo cual nos retroalimentábamos mutuamente y lo hablábamos, que no hace falta que hagas nada. Tú vas por la calle y la energía artística, o sea, yo solo he encontrado La Habana una ciudad tan artística como, o sea, La Habana y Nueva York. En ese sentido, ¿no? Esa energía que te llena, que no hace falta que hagas nada, no hace falta ni siquiera que estés en contacto con artistas para que te llene, ¿no? Y yo creo que eso es lo que te atrapa, que sales a la calle y sabes que siempre vas a tener inputs que te van a llevar a algo. Y hay que dejarse llevar, claro. Y quererla mucho, ¿eh? Yo no me iría a Los Ángeles, no. Yo siempre enamorada de Nueva York.
Tell me a little bit more.
Sorry.
No, you spoke so quickly. Just at the beginning, she was saying that that you had a hard time then, and then you wanted to love it, or no?
That she believes firmly that the city is alive, and if you love the city will love you back. But if you don't love the city, and if you think that energy is going to come back to you, and she had that experience of coming here at the beginning and being super happy and enamored with the city, and then she had to leave because of a visa situation, and then when she came back, everything started to go wrong. And then one day she went to Dumbo to look at the skyline, and she said, well, if you don't want me here, I will leave. And then after that, the city started to behave.
Well, I mean, I think, first of all, I always say, like, being in New York City, like, half the work is being here. Like, you really have to fight to be here. No one's here, like, just, relaxing or having a good time. I always joke about, not joke, but it's kind of the reality, of people in LA where they're all, having meetings and going on hikes and having lunches, and it's so pleasant, and yet they're in their cars, and I'm like, well, go outside and enjoy it anyway. But nothing. I mean, now so much is happening in LA, so I can't speak badly of it because I think it's a whole new landscape, especially for artists, which is so interesting, which wasn't that way before, and there's so many people doing great things there. So not hating on LA, but I just think New York, you have to fight to be here. You have to, like, if you want to be here, it's because you're doing something here and you're trying to make something happen, and I think the energy is so true. There's an energy here. There's a kinetic energy that just, like, it shakes you, and it's exhausting. And I mean, I find anytime I work outside of the city, I'm always just so much more kind of relaxed, and it's easier. And here we are, and it's the noise, and it's, but for me, like, one of the things about New York that, and I think about going other places. I'd love to go somewhere else and spend time away, and because it is exhausting, and but
Violeta is saying, don't say that.
Don't say that. Okay, I love it here. I really love it here. No, I do love it here. I mean, I'm here, and I grew up here, and it's like a love-hate. It's okay. New York understands. It's been a long one.
Okay.
But
you have an open relationship.
Yeah, we have a very open relationship. New York understands. I understand. No, but I think, like, one thing for me about New York, first of all, the obvious thing. I mean, you're walking the streets, you're going on the subway, wherever you are, it's such a mix of people. And yes, it's totally changed. I mean, I grew up here, moved here in the 80s. I mean, it was crazy times. Like, I think my dad was reminding me that, like, Broadway up to Union Square, every storefront was shut down, boarded up. Can you imagine that? Now you can't even, like, no one can afford anything on that unless you're a huge brand, It was definitely a much more, for when no one lived downtown, it was dangerous. I mean, even when I went to high school uptown, and this was like late 90s, people were like, oh no, don't go downtown, it's dangerous, It's definitely different, and it's changed a lot, and now it's becoming, because of how expensive everything is, it's definitely pushing all the creatives who, out, and it's hard. But that said, there's still so many interesting characters, and such a mix of people. I mean, I was in the subway with my daughter the other day, and we, with my older one, and I was just looking around, I was like, it's amazing. She looks at people, she never questions anyone or scared of anyone. It's like everyone is just a person to her. And I always find that so amazing, because it is that. New York, we all live on top of each other. There's no way to, like, you can't really be racist here, because you gotta get out. I mean, how could you can't live here. And you get to experience things that you would never do if you were, like, in a very sheltered place. And I mean, I joke now, with kids. I mean, now you start, you have films, and all of a sudden you have kids, and they're kind of not this new baby, and film is the baby, and the kid is the baby. But for kids now, I'm like, well, I always think if she can, or both of them can, they can make it in New York. If they can figure out as kids in New York, you can figure it out anywhere in the world. You can survive and you can make it. And I think the experience of New York makes you so savvy, and you do have to work so hard, and you are exposed, even though it's changed. There's still so many creative people here. And the neighborhoods also, there's a feeling of neighborhoods, which is beautiful in New York. And I find that very much like, it's huge, but it's also very small and intimate. And those stores that still are there, or the restaurant, there's places, and I don't know, it's just very alive. And walking for me, I don't know how you find, like, I have such a hard time going, especially the rest of America, where you have to be in a car all the time. I feel like half of me numbs. I could just become numb, and I can't even think, and I can't even. But walking, it's like your heart's pumping, and you're thinking of ideas, and even in the cold, I hate the cold, but it's like you're staying warm, and you're walking through it, and you're getting there, and it's exciting, and I don't know, I think that's what keeps me in New York. But I love, I think you're spending now time in Spain, and I think I'd love to go, like, to Italy for a few years and find that, and kind of be in a place where the truth is that other places put the value of kind of daily life much higher than New York does. It's not about the pleasant things. It's about just kind of like breaking through them. So I think there's times and times, but I don't know. I still believe New York is a great mix of people and creatives, and it always will be, even though it's changed the way that is. They're definitely, they're going to hang in there.
And you were both talking about that breaking through and the fight and trying to do what you want to do, and I wondered what is the fight about? What if do you feel comfortable talking about success? Is that something that plays a role in your life? What does that mean for you, if anything, or what are you fighting for?
Para mí el éxito sería poder trabajar tranquilamente en mis piezas sin tenerme que preocupar, ¿no? de tenerme que dedicar a otras cosas que quizás no me gustan tanto, y poder hacer eso para siempre, ¿no? Tranquilamente. Para mí es ese el verdadero éxito, ¿no? No tanto, por supuesto que si me dan premios y se visibiliza lo que hago, desde luego me gusta, ¿no? Pero realmente sería eso. Entonces, no sé si era tu pregunta. Sí, más o menos. Entonces, sí, o sea, mi preocupación es cómo llegar a conseguir eso, ¿no? O esa estabilidad económica para poder dedicarme a esto tranquilamente. Quizás esa sería la máxima preocupación.
I think it's, you're always questioning it. I think there's ups and downs. I think, and that's what I was kind of saying before, that all creative people, no matter how successful they are, they've all gone through, what does that mean? Have all gone through ups and downs, and you do question it. And I think the financial things are hard. I think with film, yes, you can take a camera, go film, edit yourself. But like for me, I've gotten to a place where I have a team of people, and that takes money. Even if you do it with favors and things, it takes money to make a film. And I think that's the biggest challenge, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I just had a canvas and I could just take a brush and just be alone. But it's not, and it's about having a group of, a team, and I think that's a struggle, and that's what I question sometimes. Of like I remember in film school, like this was a good example of kind of how I feel now in a very different way, because I've gone through all this. But I took in film school, all these films you would make. It was still to take a lot of time in each project. And then I took a printmaking class, and it was so satisfying, because it was just like I had an image, I put it on it, then I printed it, and it was done. And I was like, that's one thing with film. It's a process, short or long, whatever it is. It's such a journey, and it's emotional, and it takes money. It takes money to make films. And I agree that, yes, success. I mean, is it success, or is it just that your work is seen, or that you get reactions? I'm not sure, but it's more about, I think, being able to do what you do. And I did commercials because, after doing for 5 years a film about 5 women artists, and it was wonderful, and did go to one. I mean, I went to, Film Forum and Sundance Channel, so it was the best it could be, and it was right before the crash, which was really lucky because if it come out like a few months later, I mean, it's crazy, those things. Timing, too. I mean, all these things, like, you don't know how it's going to go. But then after that, I did the Sundance series, which was great, and then I kind of started doing commercials, and that's a dangerous, slippery slope. Because all of a sudden I was making things and I was making money and I was living in New York and I was like, I have money and I'm in New York, But then I will say, I'll say one experience, which was a very much like, it's also you look back and you're like, what could I have done differently? And I'm kind of in that phase right now. Like, it's an interesting, I don't know. It's just I feel like it's a transitional moment that you have to have. But I spent 2 years working for Apple secretly because you could not say you're working for Apple. Is anyone here from Apple? I hope not. No, I'm like getting in trouble. So I'm working for Apple for 2 years. It was well paid. It was an interesting project. I was going around the world filming schools, children that were being affected by like iPads in this wonderful way. And it was very positive and it was beautiful. Like, it was actually a great thing, but I couldn't talk about it. Like, to this day, I have one film I did with them online and I'm waiting for them to make me take it down. So here it is, 2 years of my life erased in a way, because it's like I did all this work. I made some money, which was great. But then it's like, where, like, as a filmmaker, to not
you
have...
You cannot put it in the CV or anything?
No, not really. I mean, I put Apple now in my bio, but it's very vague. Like, you have to sign a thing that you didn't do. And that was a crazy experience. That was like a moment where my soul kind of got crushed. Because I was like, for 2 years, I did not exist in a way because I couldn't talk about it. So what was I doing? Nothing. I'm not doing. I'm just going here. I'm going there. And then after, I made like 7 films, and I couldn't show these films. And I was like, well, what's the point of making films? I can't share them, and I can't share this experience. And I felt it was kind of like 2 years of my life like erased from my story. But it was beneficial, financially, and that was rewarding. But that's I think the struggle. It's like and then I did other commercials, and it was great. But then it took away because every project, commercial or it takes so much of your time, and then you're not doing something else. Yeah. So I think that's the struggle, and that's where like I feel like that branded content thing can be beautiful, because if you can find the right partner, if you're lucky, they give you some money. It's not a big commercial, but it's some money to produce what you want to produce. You don't have to worry about how to pay for it, and then you come out with a film you can share, and that's ideal. But it doesn't always happen that way. So. But yeah, success. It's a hard thing to, success, there's different ways, but I think being able to make your work and finding ways to fund it, I think is the success, which I think you said too, which is ultimately what one hopes for.
And to be able to show it.
Yes, and to share it and show it. But I think now we're in a time though where it's much, you can show it. It's that in that way it's good. Yeah, anymore. But yeah, to have a public, definitely.
But if you had 1,000 of those Apple films, that you would be enjoying the process of making them, but then not being able to share it.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah. It's no more secret projects.
So we are in Mujeres de Cine, this platform where we try to showcase films made by women. And we have 2 amazing filmmakers, female filmmakers here. And I would love to hear what you have to say about what's the role of women in this industry. Is it changing at all? Are we advancing? Do we need to do more? What can we do?
Bueno, yo creo que poco a poco se va cambiando y se va visibilizando y sobre todo se va borrando esa idea de que el cine hecho por mujeres es solo para mujeres y solo le interesará a las mujeres, ¿no? De hecho, yo, por ejemplo, he sido seleccionadora de algún festival y nunca miro el nombre del director o directora y luego, pues, muchas veces me equivoco y a veces pienso, pues, esto está hecho por un hombre, pues lo mismo, y a veces no, ¿no? Entonces, eso yo creo que es importante que aparte de que eso ocurra, que se visibilice, y creo que eso sí ha cambiado, por lo menos desde que yo empecé. Yo cuando estudiaba en España, lo primero que nos dijo uno de nuestros profesores, éramos 6 mujeres en una clase de 30, nos dijo, solo 6 como máximo, no, 3 de vosotros llegaréis a hacer algo así, bueno, a vivir de esto. Y bueno, la dirección, eso, o sea, no, dijo que el rol de la mujer era pues eso, maquillaje y maquillaje, arte, pero lo dijo como con muy buena intención. Sí, o sea, no.
I'm not sure I want to know what he said. So one of her professors said that from a group of 30 people, there were only 6 women. And from the 30 people, only 6 would make it as doing something in the industry. And that for women, the role is hair and makeup and
art, you know, into the film. And
he said it with the best of intentions.
Sí, no, yo creo que no intentó ni o sea, ofendernos ni nada de eso, pero nos miramos las 6 como, ¿y qué hacemos aquí? ¿Sabes? Entonces, bueno, creo que eso ha cambiado. Creo que, gracias a Dios, eso va cambiando, pero necesitamos hacer todavía más trabajo y creo que bueno, pues, por ejemplo, la labor que hace Mujeres de Cine es muy importante para que bueno, que se quiten esos prejuicios, ¿no? Del cine hecho por mujeres.
You had 6 women. I was one of 30 in the film school I went to, which was pretty wild. And I went to a trade school, which was great. It was in California, but it was mostly, like, I was 18. I went straight from high school. I was able, that's the beautiful thing about New York. I went to high school that had a film program, so I had a reel and I could apply. But most of the people there were like 25, and I was somehow the only 18-year-old girl there, and that was a crazy experience. I mean, I don't think I had friends for the first 3 months because you couldn't just go to the movies with like another student. But I didn't question it. It's weird. Like now I think about it and I think it's crazy. When I was there, I wasn't like, it was more like the relations with people that was hard because, you know, like just, it wasn't as easy to just be friends sometimes. But I think we've come a long ways. I think it's still this thing that, like, you know, it's now the past 5 years, it's like, you have to have the woman filmmaker. You gotta have and it's like, why can't you just be a filmmaker that's good and is a woman, you know? Like, it was interesting. I did these films for Glamour Women of the Year. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like a big thing they do every year. And it wasn't the greatest experience making them, but I interviewed Patty Jenkins, who did Wonder Woman. And she didn't, like, the magazine kept being like, you got to talk to her about being a woman and what that means and the hardships. And she's like, I don't want to talk about being a woman filmmaker. I want to talk about being a filmmaker. And I thought it was so right, because it is. It's like, why do we need to keep addressing being women filmmakers? And why does it have to be, like, fashionable to have women filmmakers? And it's like, we're almost at 2020. What the I mean, it's insane. But it is. It's hard as a woman. I mean, I had crazy experiences as a woman in the film industry. I mean, I started in the film industry in Italy. Oh, my God. That was, and again, 21, and going to have meetings with producers. I mean, some of the stuff that, like, luckily nothing horrible, where, like, I'm traumatized. But thinking back, you know, I was there, like, you know, they're just, like, crazy things. And then, like, but even more recently, like on a project maybe 3 years ago, there's a PA. The story always stays with me. It was horrible, but it was a good, like, lesson. This PA, this girl who's in her early 20s, and she looked at me and didn't realize, you know, I looked at the time, maybe not now after 2 kids, younger than my age. But she looked at me and she goes, so how did you get up the ladder so fast? Because I was doing a big commercial. This young woman. And I was like, God, that's coming from you? Like, why not? You know, in that moment, I turned red, I turned purple. She was driving me somewhere. You know, like, you want to just be like, what? But I, like, held back, and I just was like, I'm going to just give her a nice lesson of, you know, and I was like, well, I stuck to my vision. First it wasn't quite what it was, and then I found my voice, and then my voice translated to this, and I stuck with it, even though it wasn't the fact. And I tried to explain to her in, like, but in that moment, I was like, here is a woman, young woman who wants to do what I'm doing. And instead of taking the moment to, like, maybe, you know, get something to help her, she accuses me of sleeping with someone or of doing something that, like, got me here, and then not, like, creative or artistic way. And I was like, that's what's wrong. Like, how is that happening? Like, that's how we're in society. That's how it's looked at. It's not just men. And I think it is. I think I think women and women can be more competitive with each other, and because there are fewer, so you are competitive in a way. But like, we need to all support, and there's much more. I think we've come a long way. Like that site Light Leaks, and there's like a lot of supporting things that now are there, but it's still very small, and it makes it hard. I mean, not to keep talking about kids. I'm just like in the early phase, but it's like women with kids. Oof, that's like a whole other game, because it's like the schedules, and they don't support it. I mean, I was in the DGA for a long time. Now I'm not, but in the Directors Guild, they didn't give any absent leave. They didn't give any pension. They didn't give anything for a director who was a mom. I still feel like I need to go and fight it, but I just didn't have the time. But that's insane. Of course, there's lots of women directors who stop directing if you have no support. Yeah. If they don't make something a window to help you through those phases so you can continue making things. Of course, it's easier to give it up. So that's the problem. I think it's just not built structure, and I think it's much better. It's definitely better than when we started, or it's better in many ways. And there's so many more women doing it, which is awesome, and it's not all just women film for women, women making women film for women, which is great. And it's a much more mixed world out there. But man, the stuff that happens is just crazy that we're still here. And I mean, if you think when the feminist movement, and here we are, and I mean, not just in film, in so many places. So I don't know. We fight through it. I mean, I think as a filmmaker and or an artist, you just maybe in a way, the more you have to fight, the more you do it. Because if you're fighting to it, then you're getting to your end goal. And so forget all of them, and you don't listen and you do it. Otherwise, we'd all be doing something else a long time ago. At least myself.
So actually, what are you guys doing now? What are you working on?
Bueno, yo, como decía, rodé un cortometraje en julio llamado Fronteras, ficción, y nada, saldrá ya, la próxima semana espero que me den la copia definitiva. Ahora está pues en postproducción, y bueno, ya, no sé, de momento con calma. Primero este corto. Quizás este viaje me está haciendo como la cabeza mover un poco, pero bueno, de momento con calma y con este cortometraje.
I have a short narrative that I wrote with actually my husband. It's based on a story that we're hoping to make next summer. And then my feature, I've decided that I need to do another longer format piece. So I'm starting on that. It definitely is something like I'm in a moment where it's one thing. I used to do a lot of things at one time, and now it's kind of one project at a time. I mean, I'm hoping this short and the feature will come together, kind of parallel. But I'm kind of in a moment, I went through the being with agents and being kind of sent out there, and kind of got some bad results because of that. And so I feel like I kind of pull back, and now I realize it's really about finding people I really enjoy working with, both, and the funding, the branding, and connecting with people. And that's what New York's amazing about, like, is just finding those relationships. And that's what film's about in your team. But I'm also at a place where I find it needs to be also kind of a conversation with the kind of films I do, even in the more branded commercial world. But those those are still there because that kind of funds the other ones. So it's an evil cycle. But yes, but I do feel like it's like a transitional moment of like the next chapter.
Which is exciting. So why don't we open the floor for your questions? If there's anything you want to ask Violeta or Chiara.
Hi, I was wondering if there was a shock to you between working in the US and Spain or Italy, and like what the culture shock was, if you had any, and also like how studying, if you got to, like what your education was like, and if you had any like mentors.
¿Puedo contestar en castellano? Ah, vale, hablas, vale. Pues la verdad es que no lo encontré fácil trabajar aquí. Sí que es verdad que hay una diferencia quizás con la relación con el equipo. Aquí digamos que el equipo es, no quiero decir más profesional, pero es más serio. Digamos que aquí pues cada uno se dedica a lo suyo y puedes tener muy buena relación y todo lo que tú quieras, pero en España tendemos un poco a generar esa cosa de familia y bueno, se traspasan quizás, que a mí me gusta, se traspasan quizás las fronteras de lo que es el trabajo, con lo cual a veces se confunden los roles. Pero la verdad es que me resultó fácil, quizás por ese motivo, porque bueno, pues como directora, pues yo decía una cosa y se hacía, ¿no? En España es como que bueno, ya, pero nos tomamos una copa y vemos, porque a mí lo que me ha gustado más esta otra parte. Entonces, quizás esa es la gran diferencia. Y estudiar, bueno, yo, claro, empecé estudiando en España y vine aquí ya muy tarde. Vine a estudiar en la New York Film Academy en el 2007, pero yo ya me había graduado en el 2001 en España. Vine simplemente porque había ahorrado un poco de dinero, me quedé con ese gusanillo de no haber podido estudiar aquí en Estados Unidos, en la New York Film Academy o en NYU o cualquier otro sitio. Yo me quería venir a Nueva York. Y entonces dije, va, pues me gasto todo lo que he ganado en la New York Film Academy. Me pasé un año, pues, o sea, bueno, el año más feliz de mi vida, yo creo, que fue rodando, o sea, escribiendo y rodando, escribiendo y rodando. Realmente la New York Film Academy era bastante básica, no sé ahora, pero solo tenía como el curso inicial y yo ya había trabajado, ya había estudiado y ya había trabajado anteriormente, pero me dio igual, era como un año de rodar y entonces pues saqué de ahí mucho provecho por eso, no tanto con las clases, sino por el trabajo que hice y además como era todo bastante práctico, pues hice lo que me dio un poco la gana. Y mis profesores la verdad es que discutí con bastantes porque me decían, todos los españoles tenéis que romper las reglas y era porque... Pero un poco esa es la diferencia, ¿no? Mis amigos americanos de la New York Film Academy me decían, pero ¿por qué si te han dicho que hagas esto es para que hagas esto? Y entonces, ya, pero si le damos la vuelta. Entonces esa es un poco la diferencia que explicaba antes, ¿no? Entre el equipo de rodaje quizás en España con el de aquí, creo. Esa es la...
So the question was about studying, and the first part was Italy. Yeah, Italy, the culture shock. Well, I did that. I guess I started working in Rome because after film school I went there, and it was hard at the time. I found Italy. It's changed. I feel like now I have like amazing teams of people I work with there, and I love them. They're all super passionate about what they do. When I first lived there, it was definitely like pulling teeth to get people to work. Like it wasn't. But Rome, I felt like, was a place where you couldn't talk about what you did because it was rude to talk about your work. But then when your work was your passion and you couldn't talk about it, it was like really frustrating because you wanted to be excited about working on a project. But that's very Rome. It's not even Italy. It's like very kind of provincial in that way. But since then, I've been lucky. I think both in the US and in Rome, I have like amazing people that I work with and that are my teams and my crew and editors and DPs, and they're such a big part of the process. So I feel like in that way, when it comes down to it, the great thing with Italy is that things are still cheaper. Both paying people and the equipment is much cheaper than it is here. Even if here you get the favors and you can still do it, but it's cheaper there, and you get really cool old equipment there that I love. You get like these amazing old lenses, and so I don't know if it's that is in Spain. So that part is great. And then school, school, it's interesting. I actually started teaching last winter. I teach at SVA in the winter semester. I never thought I wanted to teach. I am a bit shy in that way. I don't have like a calling to students. But since being on the other side, it was like, oh, wow, like it felt such a responsibility because I felt like with my film school and art school in general in the US, I don't know how it is in Spain, but it's like they make you, and I have so many friends who I went to film school that are never made a film or kept going because they make you believe. They say, you're going to go to film school, you're going to write that script, you're going to make that short, it's going to win festivals, it's going to get, and you're going to make it. Don't do anything else, you got to make it with whatever you do in film school or art school, I think. Which is crazy. That's like the beginning of your journey. That's how you're discovering. I mean, my films in film school were horrible. I didn't do anything personal. It was all these stories I'd make up, and it was very abstract. I mean, when I look back, it was a great experience, but I didn't feel like it was my voice yet. I had to find that, but that's such a false thing to put on students. Because obviously these schools are responsible. They want you to succeed because then it brings more people to them. But you shouldn't say that. It should be, this is all a learning curve. I mean, film school is amazing and it's great to do it, and I couldn't have done anything else. That's all I wanted to do. But you could go and work and learn it in the same way, and that's why I like being on the other side now and having these students, and it's like, I really try to put in them, go get experience, go do it, go shoot stuff, go be on any side. When I went to Italy, I did casting, I was the second AD on a film. I did all sorts of things, and it helped me find my voice and kept me in it, because I think it's so, of course, some people do succeed with those first films, but shouldn't be on that. It's like, it's all about kind of evolving, and each thing comes the next. And then one thing I just wanted to say that I thought was interesting, just came to me, was actually Gada Mir says it in my film, the Iranian artist. She said, every time I have a show, she had lots of shows, but every time she had a show, right before, she was so nervous that it wasn't going to be, that she couldn't do the show. She didn't know how to do the show. And every time it was like this adrenaline rush. And I don't know if you find this, but I find this every time I make a film. I mean, I've made a lot of films now, but every time you question it, and you're like, can you do it? How is it going to be? How do I do it with the crew? And it's like, but maybe that's also what keeps you going, because it's like this, every time this kind of new like sensation and just kind of like this adrenaline that you need to make it what it is. I don't know, it just kind of came to me that.
Sí, o sea, para mí es lo mismo. Cada cosa que empiezo es como, ¿por qué me he metido en esto? No, esto va a ser un asco, esto no. Y al final te metes y vas saliendo un poco porque vas dejando que la cosa fluya. Y también hablando de las escuelas, es cierto, y ocurre en España también, y que bueno, te dejan esa sensación de que nada, que en cuanto acabes la escuela tú vas a volar. Yo tuve quizás la suerte que mientras estaba estudiando ya empecé a trabajar en largometrajes, pues de meritoria, de ayudante, descargando camiones y, o sea, tirando la basura, o sea, y entonces me di cuenta rápido de que eso iba a tardar. que claro, que los profesionales con los que trabajaba pues llevaban pues eso, 15, 20 años, y que todos querían, o la mayoría querían dirigir, y estaban pues 1 o 2 cargos más que yo, y que llevaban tiempo pues trabajando, ¿no? Entonces quizás eso sí que es verdad que el primer año que empecé pues con muchas ganas, ¿no? Yo en un par de años empecé en Barcelona, un año, y me iba a ir a Madrid, y nada, en un par de añitos iba a ser la nueva Amenábar, y bueno, tuve eso, la suerte de empezar a trabajar muy joven mientras estudiaba, entonces ya me di cuenta de que no. Y bueno, entonces yo creo que les hace falta eso, ¿no? Trabajar lo que es profesionalmente y empezar desde abajo y ver lo que realmente significa un rodaje, y bueno, y luego ya decidir qué camino quieres llegar.
We have like 5 more minutes for one last question.
fue una conversación muy estimulante, muy bien. It was a very stimulating conversation. I'm going to speak in English for Chiara at least. And I'm a cinephile, so I'm very much into movies. But I have a question because Chiara actually brought up a very interesting point about considering your craft and then the audience, right? You listen to the audience, you do need an audience, but at the same time, you follow your passion, right? So this is a problem that I have for a long time because I'm your mother's generation. And I have a real problem with film being seen on a computer, being seen on a video, etc., because you lose the depth. Think of Bergman, think of movies like that you see, you lose the depth, the texture, the colors, or even if it's black and white, you miss the real depth of black and white, etc. So I'm wondering if you're concerned about that when you create a piece, because if you think of an audience, especially now, you raised an excellent question. It was actually really good. And Violeta está muy aparte de eso. Estás siguiendo tu duende, ¿no? Parece. Violeta is still concerned. She's maybe because she's not from the US. I mean, she doesn't live here so much. Like you grew up here almost. So I'm wondering if you're concerned about the quality of your craft and how it's going to be rendered on a screen, regardless that people want to see movie on Netflix, on a computer, etc. That's a concern of mine because I feel we lose a lot. I can't even concentrate on a movie on a computer. I have to go to the movie theater and be in the dark and really be in a magical place of darkness, and you're surrounded by so many people, but you're all alone, and you are completely fascinated, hypnotized by the screen. So that's really my question.
But I'll just maybe start just saying, no, don't get me wrong. I think seeing a film in a theater you can't compare it in any way. I mean, it's just the sound. I think the sound is a huge thing. It's like surrounded by the emotions you feel in a movie theater watching a film, and how you kind of leave your life. And even nowadays, like, I mean, I don't do it, try not to, but how many of us look at our phone when you're watching a film at home? There's no way you don't at some point pick up your phone and do something. So it's never going to be the same experience. I think for me, because for me, the aesthetic kind of visual sense of my filmmaking is as important as kind of the message I put out there or this, the story. And that's something I've always felt no matter where it gets shown. I try to shoot it, the framing, even the cameras I use. And that's sometimes I have issues with certain documentary films out there because they might have the beautiful subject matter, but they just forget about that. And for me, filmmaking is very visual. And the visuals are just, or the way it's edited and this music, it's all layered in. So, I mean, I give an example. I did one film once for brand for Instagram. So this was like this thing of like, oh my God, I have to do a film. But I was like, do I do it? Do I not? It feels insulting, but then it was a good brand. So I tried it. And we ended up shooting. So Instagram, because what do you think? Do it on your phone. Maybe that's super easy. It's cheap. No, we shot it on a camera with Bolex lenses. It wasn't film, but it was like, we shot it with the Bolex. We made it look like film. And you know what? It made a difference. It was like putting that and doing it that way. It didn't matter that it was just done. It created a different texture, a different feeling. It gave it beauty. It created a mood. So I think visuals, no matter where it gets shown, obviously the movie theater, ideal place, but you create something, and if it's a visual medium, you make it that rich and you don't just let it go because it's not going to be shown in the movie theater. I think, I don't know, for me at least, that is super important. But granted, it's hard sometimes because it elevates, the budget so you're kind of, it's like fighting the two things. It's hard.
Bueno, para mí la técnica depende de la historia, de cómo se tiene que contar. Entonces hay historias que te piden, por ejemplo, el cortometraje que he hecho ahora, pues se ha hecho con la Alexa, con lentes anamórficas, que eso cuesta muchísimo dinero, porque necesitaba, se supone que es en África, aunque lo rodamos en Almería, pero necesitaba una imagen impecable y bueno, una cierta textura. Y entonces, bueno, encareció bastante el proyecto. Pero, por ejemplo, proyectos como Pieces of New York, que está hecho con mucho tipo de cámara, o sea, no se ha pensado en la técnica, sino que se ha grabado, se ha pensado en los personajes. Entonces, se ha grabado con diferentes tipos de cámara, diferentes tipos de sonido. También mi idea era un poco hacer un collage de imágenes en el que un poco se pudiera oler todavía el pegamento, ¿no?, de ese collage. Entonces, como una película un poco inacabada, y porque habla un poco del proceso creativo. Entonces, ese tipo de película, para mí la técnica es lo de menos, y para mí lo importante es el proceso, pues sobre todo de montaje. Yo creo que es un poco lo que pega, ¿no?, el collage. Pero tengo un problema con esta película, que es que para mí, o sea, se ha demostrado que esta película pierde muchísimo en pantalla pequeña. Y lo hablaba con ellos, que aquí tengo una de las actrices de la película que no ha visto la película y no le quiero dar el link, porque entonces, porque quiero que lo vea en pantalla grande. ¿Por qué? Porque al no tener esa técnica, esa belleza, que quizás en una pantalla pequeña se pierde, pero aún así queda algo y te atrapa, te puede atrapar, en Pieces of New York, creo que se necesita de esa sala a oscuras con el sonido para que te atrape la historia. Entonces ahí tengo un problema, y lo he tenido, por ejemplo, a la hora de llevarlo a festivales, porque generalmente los seleccionadores ven la película en pantalla pequeña, entonces ahí ha habido un problema. Pero, por ejemplo, he tenido esto lo sé porque, por ejemplo, hay gente que quizás la vio primero en pantalla pequeña, luego lo ha visto en cine y el cambio ha sido radical, ¿no?, de lo que ha experimentado. Entonces sí, yo creo que sí que hay un problema. Hay películas que no. Por ejemplo, yo creo que Fronteras, el cortometraje este que he grabado, sí que aguanta una pantalla pequeña, aunque evidentemente en un cine se verá espectacular, espero.
There's nothing like movie theaters. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time, your thoughts, your creative universe with us. Thank you. Can we
Thank
give
you.
them a big applause? Thank you so much. Y a todos vosotros os emplazo a venir mañana a las 6:30 a ver Pieces of New York. Muchas gracias.